The stock market is going parabolic, and these are the stocks that you guys want to trade. But without further ado, man, let's get to some news, and then we'll get to some support and resistance, and then the plays towards the end of the video. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of stocks moving. You guys don't want to miss anything in this video, so let's get started. So first off, man, we did have a big spike up. Nvidia got some decent news. Chip tariff exempt for Nvidia. Other stocks, Apple, especially Apple, we've seen Apple go up even more. But yesterday, we did fall below that 30-day moving average and was kind of just bouncing off of it consistently. And then after hours, we bounced up a little bit higher. I did scope out a little play at around that 179.70 level. I was going to scope out one for that 179.50, but I just wanted to wait because honestly, man, it wasn't really it was still below the 30-day moving average. I wanted to wait until it bounced above that. And honestly, if we see the way it's moving, it did pretty well. My sell order for tomorrow is indeed that 182.3, but I mean, not tomorrow, but right when market opens. But we still got some time to see where it moves because we are kind of having like a minimal sell off, but we might have a big green candle like we seen yesterday. So honestly, it's all about patience in this market overall. And we made a decent amount of money off Apple. I told you guys to buy. Hopefully, you guys got in. I got into both of these big rallies, and it did pretty good. And honestly, man, Apple is moving to the upside. We're seeing some levels that we haven't seen in months, literally, with Apple. With that being said, man, I do want to see if we can break above that 225 and that 230 level. Honestly, we just got to stay above this 220 level. We have been kind of like bouncing around it, and we were kind of consolidating a little bit yesterday. So I'm very, very patient, and I really want to see where Apple can go because we're still down overall with Apple from, like the tariff level. And honestly, just Apple just been falling, got sued for AI, but we're getting some good news overall for Apple. They're getting more into AI. They got that tariff exempt. They're investing into the US. They're on Donald Trump's good side. Honestly, man, I just want to see if we can at least get to that 225 level, a key level, and then maybe go to that 230, 240, 250. You never know, man. We might see some highs with Apple very, very soon, but that's going to also take some time as well. But Apple is one stock that's been on my radar for the past couple of weeks just because of the movements that's been making. Honestly, it's very, very good if you want to scope out some, like short-term plays and or some day trades. It is pretty well. We also got some good news with crypto in general. We finally got that bill signed where you can have that in your retirement basically. So honestly, there's going to be a little bit more cash flow going into crypto in general. We've seen Bitcoin move because of this and Ethereum in general. And honestly, it is kind of crazy to see XRP spike up a decent amount to that 330 level. We're at like $3 right now. But honestly, man, you might be able to get to 3.5 finally with XRP and then probably make a move up to that $4 level. So I'm very, very pumped to see. But that's like three things that I'm looking at is going to be like Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, Tesla, of course. We did have a decent sell-off yesterday. A lot of people got in. A lot of people made a decent amount of money on that sell-off. And then we had another spike upwards as well. So honestly, Tesla is very volatile. I personally just try to trade it when I see obvious news or an obvious move to the upside. We can potentially test that 330 level once again, but please just have your time and patience with Intel or with Tesla in general. But let's talk about Apple a little bit more. So we all know that they're exempt from the tariffs and they're going to be building more chips. But Apple CEO joined Trump for an investment announcement at the White House. They're set to raise its investment to $600 billion from their $500 billion investment. And I think they're going to be investing like $100 billion right away or something like that. But Apple will produce 19 billion chips in the US and will source all of the rare earth magnets from US supplier. Apple will produce these chips in Texas, Utah, Arizona, and New York. Some other good news overall, like I said before, Nvidia and Apple did get that exempt from the tariff, so you do see them pushing up even more. And Donald Trump did come out saying that other businesses that make investments into the US or try to kind of show that they're moving to the US will get exempt from these tariffs in the meantime while moving to the US. So that looks good for the businesses overall. Apple has been lagging overall, and this might be what they need to finally test those highs, but we are still far from it. Like I said before, we just have so much things like the AI. We have new investments and Apple being overall on Trump's good side. You want to be on Trump's good side. Unlike Intel right now, we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But we also got that tariff exempt, like I said before. The new phone comes out, I think, next month, which is insane. So if we can get some good numbers with that or, something way better, maybe better battery life. I don't know. They don't really change too much with the iPhones. But honestly, the iPhone 16, the sales went up a decent amount. And it looks like a lot of people already upgraded to that. So honestly, I don't know if the numbers are going to be as high as we expect on the iPhone 17 just because so many people upgraded to the 16. I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh, I'm going to get the 17 now, unless they have that iPhone upgrade thing that you can get with certain like sellers where you can just upgrade your phone and just continue paying the same bill. But way more things that can bring Apple to the upside overall. And since we're lagging behind still from the April highs, we might be able to test those very, very soon. But this is my favorite stock, and I have a decent amount of money in it. And in my long term, I have a lot of money in my long term on this. I think I have like 50K invested into Apple. I think my average is 200. So honestly, it's not really that good of an average, but I think if we can get up to like 240, 260, it could bring my overall long term up even more. But I'm just overall pumped to see where Apple goes. Apple and Nvidia is my two favorite stocks to day trade, and they're like the main ones that I watch. First link in the description below, I have a bunch of courses to help you guys become more profitable. But with that all being said, man, we do got some new tariffs that took effect. We seen it last night. A lot of countries tried to make a deal, but it didn't really work out, and now they're getting a hefty tariff overall. Donald Trump also posted on Truth Social. He posted last night that billions of dollars in tariffs are now flowing in, and that the reciprocal tariffs take effect at midnight overall. So we see tariffs starting to take effect for certain countries. So you can see certain companies maybe getting affected a little bit more because these are a little bit higher tariffs than the minimum. With that all being said, man, these are most of the tariffs. If you guys want to look at them, I'm just going to scroll through them very, very fast. So if you want, you can slow down the video a little bit. But these are all of the tariffs that we have. China got a 30%, Mexico 25%. I think Canada got like a 35%, Vietnam 20%, Taiwan 20%, Pakistan 19%. Honestly, man, these are pretty pretty insane tariffs, but these are the countries with lower tariffs now that we get into this list. But with that being said, man, Japan with that 15, they secured a good deal. A lot of these ones secured a good deal. And honestly, man, I think the main ones that you want to look at is like Europe. I guess Japan moved the market a little bit. Mexico, Canada, just because they're partners, or not partners, but they're right next to each other. India, man, India still got that 50% tariff. We got Brazil with a 50% tariff. These ones are insane. But honestly, man, we're going to be talking a little bit more about India just in a little bit. But on the earnings calendar, man, honestly, man, today we don't really have too much. All of it's before open. We got Tempest, Wendy's, and maybe some other ones. But earnings is honestly pretty much over. Not too much over. We still got like Nvidia and some other big stocks later on. Nvidia normally reports like later on, but we did have some big ones like AMD, Palantir. They did pretty well. AMD didn't do pretty well, but honestly, we're gonna be talking about the move that AMD made yesterday, because I think we moved like 5 to 6% on AMD, which is insane. Stock market calendar, we do got a speech, but nothing really too major. I think this got updated because yesterday I think we had nothing. With that being said, the initial jobless claims came in at 226,000 and honestly beat expectations. The initial jobless claims came in at 226,000, which was above the expected. The U.S. productivity, 2.4%. Labor costs 1.6%, wholesale inventory 0.1%. And honestly, didn't really move the market too much, but we did see a tiny little move with this. But that all being said, let's talk about some bad side of what, like everything basically. So the CEO of Intel is on Trump's bad side, just like India. India is buying and selling Russia's oil, and Trump doesn't like that. That's why they get that 50% tariff. But with that being said, I think the only thing that really like a big company was Apple that got affected, but everybody knows they're exempt right now. But with that being said, man, we do have Trump coming out on social saying that the CEO of Intel is highly conflicted and must resign immediately. We've seen Intel stock fall even more with this. You guys don't want to be on Trump's bad side, honestly. I have some Intel in my long term, and I'm kind of sad about this, but we didn't fall like too much. I think my average is like 19.5 anyway, so I'm still above it. But we are trading at that $20 level. Honestly, man, even though Intel is on his bad side, it is priced pretty well. I think the lowest that we can go is probably $19 without the stock, bankrupt or something like that, but we can get some more bad news overall. And honestly, man, just with Intel, if you guys want some short-term money, not really short-term money, but maybe like some monthly gains that you can buy and sell, I do recommend getting into Intel at that $19 level. If you guys want, it's up to you, honestly. I'm not gonna force you. But with that all being said, man, Intel does still look pretty good overall. But honestly, man, right now just don't expect any good news with Intel. I personally just want to load up on this one just in case, if we can at least 100x, maybe Intel does something good, maybe a good chip or something like that. We can get up to like that $40 level overall, because a lot of people still have Intel on their radars, and some people even got it in their long terms, but people are selling out of it. And honestly, man, Intel is that one stock that I feel like once we can make something good happen, we can see Intel to the upside, just like AMD. AMD was lagging behind for a little bit, but now we're kind of rallying a little bit. With that being said, yesterday's rally did pretty well. We started at like 1.66.5, and then we stopped trading at around like that 175, basically almost making a $10 move with AMD overall. If you guys had a call option on this, you guys would have made a decent amount of money, especially with this move, because earnings did bring it down a decent amount, but we're finally filling that gap to the upside. I think I mentioned that in yesterday's video, but I personally wasn't even watching AMD. But if I was, I would have probably gotten to this play. I'm not even gonna lie. Even like an overnight would have made you a decent amount of money and moved like $4 to $5. And honestly, still move it to the upside. You could probably see a big green candle when the market opens. But AMD is a good stock to watch, especially maybe getting back up to that 185, another $10 move, but maybe not instantly. That might be a next week thing, but only if the market remains bullish overall. With that all being said, man, let's get to support and resistance as a plays. We already talked about AMD. The SPY overall, man, I want to see if we can fill some gaps back up to the highs from yesterday to that 636.9 basically. But I just want to see if we can hit that 636.5 first. And if we can break that, look at 637.5 and that 640 level. To the downside, though, look at 633.5, 632, and that 631 to that 630 level. With that being said, I personally haven't really been trading SPY that much. I personally like having, 2 to 3 week plays. And if you trade like Apple and Nvidia and just individual stocks, it's not really that expensive to trade, 2 to 3 weeks out. But if we go to like SPY, you're risking a little bit more money. But let's say like August 19th, it's like $800 for a play. And honestly, man, if you lose out, you might lose a decent amount of money, but it's still not that bad. But SPY is just that one that doesn't really move, and it's just better to trade individual stocks. But if we look at the clear movements, honestly, man, the SPY, like let's say on the 31st, we had a sell off and it sold off for the whole day. And literally the next day we sold off and we went to the downside. And the next day, let's look at the 4th, we bought and it was green for the whole day. And then the next day, red for the whole day. So kind of just like it keeps his move for the whole day. So honestly, man, SPY probably isn't really that bad to trade because honestly, we've been making like the same moves. I think SPY is that one that you shouldn't buy the dip on unless you're buying it for the next day. But with that being said, you can do a decent little day trade with the SPY overall because it continues the trading. Like legitimately, it does look pretty smooth if you want to continue a trade, but I wouldn't hold it overnight. I just do it if you guys are scoping out a day trade. But I've been trying to do some like swing trades and stuff like that. But the SPY does look pretty decent. I didn't even notice that until now. So honestly, man, just keep SPY on your radar if you guys want to make a day trade. We already talked about Nvidia and Apple, but honestly, man, I think these can continue to the upside a little bit more. I think Nvidia might be able to retest these highs of that 183, but just watch the 183.5. And if we have another bounce off of that, you could probably play a put option then, let it go down a little bit more because we've been bouncing off that a pretty consistent amount of times. With Apple, man, honestly, man, Apple right now, we got to zoom out to see some good supports and resistance. But honestly, what I'm watching is that 222.5, that 225, and of course that 230 level. I'm going to take my time trading Apple a little bit more. I feel like maybe this run up can maybe slow down, lose some steam, and maybe consolidate, maybe back down to like that 220 to that 215. So we might get a sell off, and or we might just continue to the upside. You might see some crazy movements with Apple overall. Tesla, man, this is what I'm talking about with Tesla, man. Tesla is unpredictable. It can move any way. And honestly, man, Elon Musk can just post something and let it move. But to the upside, I'm going to be watching that 325, 330, 335, and that 340 level. And to the downside, I'm going to be watching that 320 if we break below that, 315, 310, and that 300 level for Tesla overall. But with that all being said, man, good luck trading today. Comment down below how much money you guys made for this week. It is Friday. So honestly, man, you just got to scope out those profits. If you guys are profitable for this week, don't overtrade. Trade with maybe $100, $200. Like even if you're trading with 10K, that's what I try to do on Fridays. If I do want to scope out a trade, I'll just trade with little money because even if I lose, I'm not going to lose all my profits. So Friday is that day that you lock in profits. Get ready for next week. Maybe do some weekly plays, but honestly, man, with these tariffs and stuff like that, I wouldn't really trust it. But with that being said, man, smash the like button, subscribe, check out those courses. First link in the description below. Let's get to 500 subs and good luck trading today, guys. And you can start a conversation down in the comments below if you want.